8 years and 4 months. That's how long Ben McLemore will be in prison after being found guilty of a woman at a house party back in 2021. The victim said in court today that she hopes this trial will be a testament that no one is above the law.
What if I told you that one of the most electrifying college players of the 2010s, a kid once compared to Ray Allen, who dropped 36 points in a single Kansas game and was drafted 7th overall, is now serving over 8 years in prison for a crime that shocked everyone. This is the tragic, twisted, and downright chilling downfall of Ben McLemore. A story that goes way deeper and darker than anyone imagined. It's the kind of fall that makes you question everything. The system, the pressure, and the choices that haunt a man forever. Let's go back, way back, to where it all began. Ben Edward McLemore III was born on February 11, 1993, in the rugged streets of North St. Louis. His upbringing wasn't just rough, it was devastating. His family faced an impossible choice nearly every week: electricity or food. On some days, they heated water in the microwave just to bathe. Winters meant the whole family huddled under one blanket, desperately trying to keep warm. His mother, Sonia, worked multiple jobs to support her 5 children, but it was never enough. And through all this poverty, hunger, cold, Ben found one thing that gave him hope: a basketball. For Ben, the court wasn't just an escape, it was a lifeline. And at first, it looked like that lifeline was about to save him. At Wellston High School, McLemore was a force of nature. He was unstoppable, averaging over 28 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and even racking up steals and blocks like a seasoned pro. His junior season was so explosive that he had scouts drooling and colleges scrambling. But then, boom, his school shut down. Just like that, his rising career hit its first wall. And this wouldn't be the last time chaos would interrupt Ben's momentum. He transferred to Oak Hill Academy, a basketball powerhouse known for churning out legends: Kevin Durant, Tomolo Anthony, Rajon Rondo. Ben McLemore was next, or so we thought. Out of nowhere, Ben got kicked out of Oak Hill in the middle of the season. The reasons were never fully made public, but let's be real, getting booted from a school that wants you only for your talent, that's not a good sign. Something behind the scenes went seriously wrong. From there, he moved to Christian Life Center in Texas and barely averaged 16 points over 6 games. He went from being a high school superstar to barely making noise on the national radar. But still, Kansas took a chance on him, and that decision changed everything. Ben enrolled at Kansas. But thanks to a maze of transcript issues and shady transfer records, he was forced to sit out his first year. He could only practice, no games, no spotlight. But when he finally hit the court in the 2012-13 season, it was pure magic. He averaged nearly 16 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, 42% from deep, and 87% from the line. Add a 42-inch vertical and 44 dunks in 37 games. And suddenly, the Ray Allen comparisons didn't sound crazy. Even Kansas coach Bill Self, a man who'd coached Paul Pierce, Andrew Wiggins, and more, said Ben might be the most naturally gifted player he'd ever worked with. Then came the game. March 2, 2013, Kansas versus West Virginia. McLemore dropped 36 points on 12 of -15 shooting, hitting 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. He shattered Danny Manning's freshman scoring record, and fans went ballistic. NBA scouts weren't just watching, they were drooling. But buried beneath the highlight reels were warning signs. Just weeks earlier, in a game against Iowa State, he hit a banked-in 3 to send the game to overtime. When asked if he called bank, McLemore said, "I kinda did," but Coach Self immediately contradicted him. "He didn't call glass," Self said bluntly. That small moment, that hesitation, that blurred line between luck and skill, would come to define Ben's career. Even worse, in the NCAA tournament against North Carolina, when Kansas needed him the most, he disappeared. 0-for-9 from the field, benched, the lights got bright, and Ben faded. Still, scouts remained obsessed with his potential. He had the talent, the jumper, the bounce, but they overlooked the intangibles, the red flags, the history of instability. They bought the dream and ignored the reality. Then came the scandal. Just as Ben declared for the NBA draft, reports emerged that his AAU coach had accepted thousands of dollars from a sports agent named Rodney Blackstock. The catch? Klumer had listed Blackstock on his guest pass list during Kansas games and then signed with him after declaring. It looked like a classic case of illegal recruitment, the kind that could have cost Kansas its season. Ben denied any wrongdoing, but the optics were brutal. For someone who grew up with nothing, it wasn't hard to understand how he could be lured by money. But it was still another example of poor judgment and risky associations. Despite everything, Ben was selected 7th overall in the 2013 NBA draft by the Sacramento Kings. He was finally on the biggest stage, but it didn't go the way anyone hoped. Sacramento was chaos. The front office was dysfunctional. Coaches came and went. The offense had no structure. Ben's confidence, once sky-high, crumbled. He struggled with consistency, decision-making, and effort. At times, he looked lost on the court. He had flashes, jaw-dropping dunks, hot shooting nights, but never developed into the player he was meant to be. He bounced from team to team: Memphis, Houston, the Lakers, Portland. Journeyman status. Then it all came crashing down in 2021. Ben McLemore attended a party in Lake Oswego, Oregon. What happened that night changed his life forever. According to reports, an altercation broke out. Witnesses say McLemore, intoxicated and agitated, became violent. What started as a heated argument escalated into something far more serious. What followed was an incident so disturbing that a jury handed down an 8-year prison sentence. The details remain sealed for privacy reasons. But multiple outlets confirmed that McLemore was convicted of aggravated assault and other related charges. Friends, former teammates, and fans were stunned. Some claimed it was a misunderstanding. Others weren't surprised, because the truth is, the signs were always there. A childhood of instability, high school turmoil, NCAA red flags, NBA inconsistency. It wasn't just bad luck, it was a pattern. Ben McLemore's story isn't just about wasted potential. It's about how the system builds stars without preparing them to handle the spotlight. It's about how trauma, poverty, and pressure can linger beneath even the smoothest jump shot. And it's about how one night, one decision can destroy everything. He went from a top 10 pick to a cautionary tale. A kid once compared to Ray Allen is now sitting behind bars, thinking about what could have been. This is the rise and fall of Ben McLemore. The issues that plagued Ben McLemore at Kansas' questionable judgment and the people he surrounded himself with were warning signs of something much deeper. The scandal with agent connections nearly cost him his eligibility. And while Kansas avoided penalties, the moment that should have been McLemore's triumphant leap to the pros was already tainted. And sadly, it was just the beginning. Heading into the 2013 NBA draft, McLemore was seen as a surefire top 3 pick. His shooting, athleticism, and raw talent had scouts locked in. Major analysts projected him going 2nd or 4th. But when the draft began, the unthinkable happened. Cleveland stunned the world by taking Anthony Bennett 1st overall. Then came Victor Oladipo, Otto Porter, Cody Zeller, Alex Len, Mars Noel. One by one, McLemore's name was skipped over. When the Sacramento Kings finally called him at pick number 7, the slide was complete, and so was the setup for what would become a career defined by chaos. Ironically, Sacramento hadn't even worked McLemore out. They didn't expect him to be available. But when he fell into their lap, they grabbed him without a second thought. On paper, it should have been a blessing. In reality, it was the worst landing spot imaginable. What most people don't know is that McLemore wasn't just joining a struggling team. He was entering organizational mayhem. Just a month before the draft, a new ownership group had taken over. A new coach was hired in May, and right after drafting Ben, the Kings traded away their main ball handler, Tyreke Evans. That meant the entire roster was in flux. As veteran Chuck Hayes put it, McLemore was stepping into a whole new world with zero preparation. And the results were brutal. His rookie season exposed every fear scouts had tried to overlook. He averaged just 8.8 points on under 38% shooting. His elite three-point percentage from college dropped to 32%. And his defense, even worse. Opponents shot nearly 49%. When guarded by McLemore well above league average, he wasn't just struggling, he was sinking. Coaches questioned his hands, his instincts, his effort. And then came the gut punch. On December 15, 2014, just a season and a half into McLemore's career, Sacramento fired head coach Michael Malone. McLemore was shattered. He openly admitted that the firing made him feel like crying. It wasn't just Malone he lost, it was assistant coach Chris Gent too. The one person who had been working hands-on with him every day from that moment on everything unraveled. In less than 5 seasons, McLemore would play under 6 different head coaches. The revolving door included Michael Malone, Tyrone Corbin, George Karl, and Dave Yerger. Each brought new systems, new expectations, and no continuity. And for a young player still trying to find his footing, the damage was irreversible. In 2016, McLemore admitted something heartbreaking after those first 2 years. I felt like there was a lack of player development. I'm big on someone being hands-on with me. Instead, he was treated like a disappointment, and eventually, he started believing it himself. You start seeing, oh, he's a bust, and you start to think, maybe I am. The self-doubt swallowed him whole. Every mistake, a missed rotation, a backdoor cut would get him yanked. His confidence tanked. And when Sacramento traded for Buddy Hield and signed Bogdan Bogdanovic, the message was clear. They had moved on, even though McLemore started all 82 games in his sophomore season and averaged over 12 points per game. The bust label stuck. And unfortunately, what followed next made things even worse. In July 2017, McLemore signed with Memphis, hoping for a fresh start. But just a month later, disaster struck. He fractured his right foot during a pickup game and missed the first 12 weeks of the season. By the time he returned, he was assigned to the G League, a massive fall from grace for a former lottery pick. When he finally made his Grizzlies debut, it was a disaster, just 4 points and 2 rebounds in 18 minutes. During a blowout loss, Memphis had seen enough. By the next July, McLemore was traded back to Sacramento in a salary dump, not because they wanted him, but because they needed to move cap space. Still, McLemore felt a flicker of hope. Wow, coming back to the team. Who drafted me? He told reporters. They believed in me from the jump. They're giving me a second chance. But that belief wasn't real. Sacramento didn't bring him back for basketball reasons. They didn't see him as part of the future. It was just business. And for Ben McLemore, that's when hope began to die. Ben McLemore's second stint with the Kings was supposed to be a fresh start, a redemption arc. But instead, it turned into the final unraveling of his NBA identity. Through the first month of the 2018 to 2019 season, he played just 24 minutes. Then came the phone call that would change everything. November 4th, 2018, Milwaukee. Visiting team locker room, McLemore was getting treatment, preparing for the game. His phone rang. It was his sister. She was crying. On the other end of the line, she delivered the worst possible news, Kevin. McLemore's older brother and closest confidant had died unexpectedly at just 25 years old. Kevin wasn't just family. He was the one person who fully understood what it was like growing up in deep poverty in St. Louis. They were practically twins, emotionally inseparable. I ran into the shower and turned the water on. McLemore later said, "I didn't know what else to do. I was just in the shower talking to myself, like I was trying to talk to him." His mother later told him, "You look like you have a black cloud over your head." It showed. His energy changed. His drive faded some nights, he admitted. He didn't want to play basketball anymore. And with that weight crushing his spirit, the bust label attached to him became permanent. 3 months later, Sacramento waived him. Just like that, there was a flicker of hope when the Toronto Raptors showed interest. They signed him to a 10-day contract. And McLemore was literally driving to the airport, bags packed, ready to board the flight when his phone rang again. This time, it was his agent. The contract had fallen through. A technicality in the roster killed the deal. No offer. No backup. Suddenly, McLemore was out of the league. And no one was calling. A team from China even flew in a scout to watch him train. He thought seriously about leaving the NBA behind, maybe just for a year, but deep down, he feared this was the end. Then something incredible happened. Summer of 2019, McLemore was training at the Mamba Sports Academy when he heard a voice behind him. It was Kobe Bryant. Kobe looked at him and asked, "What are you doing here?" McLemore explained. He was out of the league. No teams had called. Kobe didn't offer sympathy. He didn't sugarcoat. He just said 4 words, "Stay ready, your time's coming." And Kobe was right. Later that summer, Mike D'Antoni and the Houston Rockets took a chance on him. They believed McLemore's shooting could space the floor around Harden and Westbrook, and just like that, he was back. But this time, something was different. McLemore had fire in his eyes. Playing next to Harden, who actively found him open looks, McLemore reignited his game. In December 2019, he dropped 27 points on Phoenix, hitting 5 of 9 from deep. Then he went off again, 28 points against Toronto. Burying 8 3-pointers. For the first time in years, he silenced the critics. In Houston, he averaged over 10 points on 40% from deep, exactly what the Rockets needed. And then, the impossible happened. The Los Angeles Lakers came calling. He debuted with 6 points against Miami in April 2021. Then signed with Portland that August. At 28, McLemore had now played for 6 NBA teams. But he still believed in his role, his value, and in rewriting his story. And then, October 3rd, 2021, everything changed, forever. Trigger warning: the following part contains sensitive and disturbing details. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Lake Oswego, Oregon. House party. A beautiful home. Laughter. Loud music. Drinks flowing. That night, a 21-year-old woman consumed more alcohol than she ever had in her life. Witnesses described her as clearly intoxicated, slurred speech, barely able to stand, vomiting earlier in the evening. She eventually passed out on a couch around 2 a.m., completely unconscious. But hours later, around 6 a.m., she regained partial consciousness, confused, disoriented, and what she allegedly saw next would become the center of a disturbing legal case. She testified that she was being assaulted, helpless, fading in and out of consciousness, unable to move, unable to consent. She didn't even recognize the person involved. "I don't know who this person is," she said. "This is a random person doing something like this to me." Police were called. A full investigation followed. Court testimony, photos, and witness reports painted a deeply disturbing picture of the events that night, and at the center of the case was Ben McLemore, the same player who had once been Kobe's underdog story. Now stood accused in a case that would shatter his legacy. From NBA talent to convicted felon, one moment of horrifying judgment ruined everything. This wasn't just a fall from grace. It was a plunge off a moral cliff, a tragedy of lost potential, and a haunting reminder that one terrible choice can erase a lifetime of hard work. In his second stint with the Sacramento Kings, Ben McLemore logged just 24 minutes in the entire first month of the 2018-19 season. But whatever hope he still held on to, whatever dreams he had left, came crashing down with a single phone call. It was November 4th, 2018. The Kings were in Milwaukee, and McLemore was in the visiting locker room getting prepped for that night's game. His phone rang. On the other end, his sister crying. His older brother Kevin, his best friend. His guide through the storm of childhood poverty in St. Louis, was gone, dead at just 25 years old. McLemore later said, "I ran into the shower and turned the water on. I just didn't know what else to do. I was standing there talking to myself, trying to talk to him. We were like twins. We had a connection." His mother told him he looked like he had a black cloud over his head. And for good reason. Some nights, he didn't even want to play basketball anymore. Just 3 months after Kevin's death, Sacramento waived him. There was a flicker of hope when the Toronto Raptors offered a 10-day contract. McLemore was literally driving to the airport when his agent called. The deal had collapsed due to a roster technicality. No other team called. A Chinese scout even flew out to see him train. The idea of leaving the NBA, of disappearing from the league entirely, was real. It felt like the end. But then, something unexpected happened. While training at the Mamba Sports Academy, McLemore was approached by none other than Kobe Bryant. Kobe looked him in the eye and asked, "What are you doing here?" Explained he was out of the league. Kobe simply said, "Stay ready. Your time is going to come." And it did. The Houston Rockets signed McLemore in July 2019. Coach Mike Sickney saw something others had missed. Playing next to James Harden and Russell Westbrook, McLemore suddenly rediscovered his rhythm. In December 2019, he dropped 27 points on Phoenix, going 10 for 15 from the field. Against the reigning champs, the Raptors, he exploded for 28 points, hitting 8 threes. For 81 games in Houston, he looked like the player Kansas fans remembered. 10.1 points per game, 40.7% from deep, and a spark off the bench. The Lakers took notice and gave him a shot. He made his debut against Miami in April 2021. By August, he signed with Portland, hoping for stability, one last shot at a long-term role. But on October 3rd, 2021, everything changed. What happened that night didn't just end his basketball career. It destroyed everything. Lake Oswego, Oregon. A house party at the home of Trailblazers forward Robert Covington. It was supposed to be just another night out. But according to court records and disturbing testimony, it became a nightmare. A 21-year-old woman, heavily intoxicated, passed out on the couch around 2 a.m. after a night of excessive drinking. Witnesses testified she was slurring, vomiting, barely able to keep her head up. Photographs later submitted in court showed her passed out, unconscious. According to the woman, she woke up partially drifting in and out of consciousness to find Ben McLemore assaulting her. She testified that at one point she let herself slide to the floor in an effort to escape. But McLemore pulled her back onto the couch and continued. She reported the assault the same day and underwent a specialized medical exam. But justice would take time. McLemore was playing overseas. His frequent travel delayed the investigation for years. Still, detectives kept gathering evidence. In February 2020, for nearly 3 years after the assaulted grand jury finally indicted him on 4 charges: first-degree rape, first-degree unlawful penetration, and 2 counts of second-degree sexual abuse. U.S. Marshals arrested McLemore at Portland International Airport on April 9, 2024. He denied the charges. "I did not do it. I'm not sexually abusive," he said. "I've never pursued a woman who wasn't interested." The trial lasted 11 days. His lawyers claimed the encounter was consensual. They said both parties were drunk. During closing arguments, his defense attorney said it was just a case of 2 drunk people getting together. But the evidence told a different story. McLemore admitted under oath that he never spoke to the victim before. During McLean were cute CAs. Or after the encounter and that he left. Immediately after receiving a text from his then-wife asking why he wasn't at home. Covington, who hosted the party, had testified that the woman and McLemore were seen flirting earlier in the night. But that was hours before the alleged assault, when she was still capable of standing and speaking clearly in court. The woman gave heartbreaking testimony. "You can't do that to someone. I don't care who you are. You can't just walk away after doing something like that." After 10 hours of jury deliberation, the verdict came. Guilty on 3 of 4 charges. On July 9, 2025, Ben McLemore was sentenced to 100 months over 8 years in Oregon State Prison. His basketball legacy: 556 games, 9 points per game, 36.3% from 3. But numbers can't show us what we lost or what he threw away. His fall wasn't just about missed shots or bad coaching. 'Twas about choices. Ben McLemore once had it all. A 42-inch vertical. Ray Allen comparisons, a street named after him. He sold out Allen Fieldhouse. He played next to Harden and wore a Lakers jersey. But the black cloud his mother saw never left. The demons he couldn't fight. Finally, 1 dot from lottery pick to convicted felon. From promise to prison. From potential to permanent. Lost, and now, the only thing left of Ben McLemore's story is a warning. Talent without character is worthless. Opportunity without wisdom is dangerous. And if you can't master the man in the mirror, you'll never make it, no matter how high you jump.